Hello again. Continuing a confusing diagram, which there was a prerequisite before a video that I made about the radio wiring and understanding it. About troubleshooting, I wanted to add a few things. When you troubleshoot the radios, the amplifiers in the car, again, we have to take into consideration, I'm going to quickly make the points, 3 possible conditions for the radio. One is not having anything in the ignition switch, just turning on the radio. Over here, we'll go through this path and turn on the radio, the antenna. I went over it before. When you have it in accessories or run in some places, then I'm going through the green one. Okay, this will turn on the radio, the antenna, activate the antenna, the motor, and the relay, and then this will activate the radio. Finally, when you crank the engine and you turn on the radio when you're driving, this is the path. This one and this one. So therefore, all 3 cases you're feeding the antenna, and there's a connector for the antenna, and there's a connector to go through the radio. With should be about 12, in this case, 12 wires going through the radio. Again, 8 for 4 speakers, a ground. Like we said, when there's no switch involved, the B plus, accessories, and antenna plus B. This is when you crank the engine. The pin numbers are here, 8, 3, 4. These are the pin numbers. 2, 6, as you can see. 1, so the wire that you're looking for is the one that you go to that pin. Okay? So, this is yellow, or if you're looking for light green, if you're looking for yellow again, red, white, you're looking for that specific one. Purple, you're looking for that wire. Violet. So, let's take the case, the radio doesn't play at all. When I drive, when I crank the engine, when I don't crank the engine, I put it in accessories, and when I just turn on the radio with no key, what path would be involved? We would have to say that it could be the radio itself, but we cannot rule out the first one where this fuse open. If this fuse open, this is common to all the 3 paths. If this fuse open, this fusible link opened, which is supposed to, then this would cut off all the paths, whether in accessory or when you crank the engine. This is a possible thing when you don't have the radio playing at all, whether you crank, whether you put on an ignition switch, or you just put on the radio without any ignition switch, without any key. Can it be the battery again? No, because when we cranked the engine, we didn't have the radio, but we cranked the engine. Obviously, the battery is good. So you have to look at that. Let's say when I drive, again, scenario, I drive, it doesn't work, but it does work when I put the key on accessories and when I just put on the radio. That means we dealing with this branch over here and this one. If it doesn't work in accessories, but it works when it cranks, we're dealing with this one again, this green path over here. We look at the connector, we make sure that maybe the wires are broken or something. We always have to take that into consideration, hard wiring. We look at all the terminals on the connector and all the wiring going through the connector. That takes care of that. Now, the speakers don't work. Let's say front left doesn't work. You involve with these 2 wires or the speaker itself. Let's say front door speaker on the right doesn't work. You involve with the wires coming to pin 1, coming to pin 5. The rear speaker doesn't work left, but the others work. Obviously, I'm dealing with this. Pin 2, the one that goes to pin 2. Black, the yellow that goes to pin 6. Finally, the rear speaker doesn't work. I'm dealing with pin 1. And I'm dealing with pin 3. The ground is not good. It can always affect it on everything, obviously. So, on any scenario, any case if there's no ground. So therefore, keep in mind a couple of things I wanted to stress. Whenever you make an installation of radios and you have problems with your battery, let's say your battery discharges quickly. Sometimes when they make the installation of radios, they can mess it up. As my experience was when I worked for Chevy, it cut my time considerably when the customer said, yes, I had something installed, like a security system or cameras or especially radios. They mess up the wiring. This is hard wiring, and then you discharge the battery much quicker. Now, let's say something is open. If something is open in the installation, right, that means it won't work on that path that we just talked about. But can it blow the fuse if something is open? Usually it doesn't on a printed circuit board. However, in hard wiring, if this wire broke off, where does it land? It can land on chassis. Chassis is ground, right? So let's say, for instance, let's take an example. Let's say this one broke off, the B+. The B+ broke off, right? As you see over here, I believe it's yellow, light yellow, broke off from the connector. Okay? Now, it broke off and it touched chassis. That's going to blow a fuse. Even though it's open, but it's still a short circuit to chassis through the B+. It'll blow this fuse. So, when you have something open in electronics, usually you're pulling less current. However, again, hard wiring, wherever that wire lands and you are surrounded by chassis ground, engine block is ground, alternator, everything is ground. That's why I made a video. You always put the negative last and you take it out the first. Everything is negative, therefore you can't blow a fuse. If this wire broke off and it touches ground, if this wire broke off, it touches ground, it'll blow this fuse. If the wire broke off and it touches ground over here, it'll blow this one. If over here, let's say, this wire over here broke off, it touches ground, boom, it'll melt this fusible link. So keep in mind, after an installation or anything that's been done lately, tell your, I guess your technician, this was done, and maybe has something to do with, obviously, the discharge of the battery that's rapidly. You can have a parasitic load, which I made videos about. When that happens, it's a slow discharge over time. It doesn't happen quickly. If there's a short, it'll happen right away. And it'll blow the fuse. You won't have a parasitic load over time. Meaning you're drawing current over a while. A short is a short, and it'll blow it right away. An open means there is less current being drawn. A short means more current is being drawn. So again, pay attention to these things, and like I said in my prerequisite, the other video, it'll explain exactly how it works. Thanks for watching. This is for Toyota Camry, Lexus, and the main focus, the main idea is this will work for every make and model. Like I said, Toyota schematics are different from the other schematics I made about BMW and all these. Here they have a picture of the battery. The other ones they didn't have, if you remember. That's why I'm giving you different types of schematics from different makes and models. Once you know the purpose of let's say, this, the fuses or the ignition switch, a fusible link, it'll be the same in any make or model. That's the foundation and basics of electronics. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Automotive Electronic Schematics by Joseph.